budget.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Newbury Township meeting for August 5th. Would you please join me in the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. The board met in executive session on July 9th to discuss personnel matters, and the board met in executive session before this meeting to discuss personnel and litigation matters. Okay. Agenda point number 4, litigation. Number 8, Common Property Greenway Trail planting.
Hi, my name is Ken Jones, President of the County Watershed Association. Thanks for the opportunity to present to you tonight. As I think many of you are aware, the Coleman property has recently had a trail installed. It's leads to the Chamonix, and as a function of that development and construction, there are a number of trees that had to be removed to support that development. So we're proposing to perform a tree planting in the fall of this year to replace trees that were removed, and also to fill some holes where dead ash trees, where ash trees have been lost in that general area and adjacent to Chamonix. So for the audience, I think we're planning on about 75 trees, large canopy trees, and small undisturbed trees. So the plan involves getting the public works to walk the area, make sure that we're not too close to the trail, that we're meeting all of the maintenance requirements that public works will have. We'll bring the volunteers, the materials. The township is not responsible for any time or money. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from the board?
What's the timing of starting the plantings if it's approved?
Usually October or November.
Okay.
Just kind of depends on the weather.
Anyone from this side? No? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your helping out the town.
Okay, presentation item number B, County Line Builders, Building B.
Good evening.
Good evening.
These board members, how are you? Kelly McGowan, representing the applicant. So when I say applicant, I told Kevin, preparing for the presentation this evening, actually went back and into some history. Kevin and Kevin Riley's here with me for the benefit of the board, benefit of the audience. Mike Meister couldn't be here this evening. Kevin and Mike started on this project in 2019, 2020. Some of you might remember township went about enacting an ordinance giving consideration to this corridor. An ordinance was also that was enacted. That was in the fall of 2020. Zoning hearing board application ensued for this development for this project, which originated in quite a different form than you see out there now. As a result of the zoning hearing board's decision granting certain relief, the township took an appeal. And as a result of the appeal in 2022, the development was approved. The developer agreement was executed right around March, April of 2022. I think the final plans were dated March of 2022. So that gives us a bit of history, just a bit of context in terms of the timing. So here we are in 2024, as you know, let's see, building what we call Building A, the large building, the apartment building with the first floor accessory commercial is built. All of the site improvements are in. It is at substantial completion. I think this developer agreement provided 24 months for substantial completion. They came in within that time period. So now it's time to continue with the development and look at Building B. You received or should have received in your packet, on Friday, a letter, that I prepared to you, providing you with some materials, and asking to provide this presentation to you to look for a modification, to building B. As a result of some of the, efforts that Kevin and Mike have gone through over the past 2 years in terms of marketing of that building, then also just how the development, has come together, as I said, along this corridor. So Kevin has provided you, we're showing you right now what's on the board, which is the updated site plan. And when I say updated site plan, you're going to look at it and it's not going to look any different. The building A that I referenced before is up. You can see that generally in the center of the plan, all the accessory parking, the walking trails. Again, everything has been completed. What is shown as a more of a square building is building B. That is the building that has not been constructed. It was proposed and included in the settlement stipulation to be a 16,000 square foot building, 8,000 square foot footprint, 2 stories. It was intended to be an all commercial building. I'm going to let Kevin talk a little bit about their marketing efforts, but the summary here is that that building, the request is, I should say, to modify the use to, instead of having a second floor commercial, which has proved to be a difficult leasable area, to turn that into additional apartments, make it consistent with building A. So it would be first floor commercial, second floor apartments, and that would enable Kevin and Mike to build out the development while they're still out there and keep in process. So Kevin, you want to fill in like a few blanks?
Sure, that was the gist of it. Building A is going very well in our opinion. We are leasing that now. We had our first person move in on August 1st. We have some more folks moving in August. We should finish building A right around September 1st, 100% complete. We had a street light snafu out front where a lesser street light got approved and the township came and said, that's not the correct street light. Please change that out. And we were happy to do that. So we matched Wawa street lights. We did the entrance imprinting, the stamped asphalt at our entrance and the two Spatola's entrances on Friday. And later on this week, we're gonna do the Chalfont Motor Lodge, so that'll be done. The landscaping out front is 100%. The walking trail is fully constructed and some of the township residents are using it. And we've been working on building B since we basically have gotten approval in 2020. We've had Green Street out there marketing it with their sign. We really don't get any phone calls. No one has really been interested in commercial at that location. And so Mike and I would like to finish the project. We would like to continue to invest in the corridor. And the economically feasible way to do that is to build the 7 apartments on the second floor on spec because they will rent. And then we would deed restrict, or however you want to say, the ground floor would be 100% commercial. The only thing on the ground floor would be the elevator and the 2 stair towers that would take up the ground floor. The rest of it would be 100% commercial. What that will allow us to do, to be very honest, is we could probably then rent the ground floor at slightly below market rate. It will be built and tenants would come. Because we could then, you know, be able to rent for a little bit cheaper because the apartments would carry the weight of the cost. We went ahead, well, let me just back up 1 second. As Kelly said, I just want to repeat, same exact building footprint, same exact site plan layout. Parking's the same, sidewalks, everything's the same as what was approved. So we weren't asking to go any bigger or anything like that. The parking ratios greatly improved because 7 apartments is a much less intense use. The trip generation, the traffic that this site will generate will decrease by about 300 vehicles per day. When you would compare like a 16,000 square foot retail or medical office versus 7,000 square feet of office and 7 apartments. The architecture, all we've done. Go ahead.
Just to be clear, what type of apartments, like 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, consistent with building A? What specific?
Completely consistent with building A, 7 apartments. I do have the layouts if you're interested in seeing them. I would also love if the supervisor would like to visit the site. I know you can't do that as a majority, but I would love to walk you through. We're very proud of what we did in Building A. We think it's beautiful. We think it's a great addition to the township. So I'm there every day, building it, not all day, but partial day. If you ever want to see it, come on, stop in and take a look. We're about ready to open up the lounge and the lobby and the gym. All the amenities are just about done. So we would play off the architecture of Building A, with the brick and the siding, the flat roof. And this is showing the frontage of what Building B would be. It's only 2 stories tall, whereas Building A is 3 stories. Just like was approved that, with the township, we would keep it to 2 stories. There'd be a couple of balconies out front, but all storefront glass, because we would build it and we probably wouldn't have tenants secured at that point. So we'd have storefront glass on the front, the side and the back, so that retail and office tenants would want to be there. We've only taken it this far with the same architect who did Building A. We had him do an elevation rendering and some floor plan layouts, and then we thought we'd come in and get some feedback from you folks.
So your packet includes a copy of the stipulated settlement agreement. Modification would be required, but if you take a look at that agreement, it's actually very minimal modification. There's 1 paragraph that provides proposed use of Building B, and that would be the only modification that would be at issue, or that would be relevant to this proposal.
Thank you for your presentation. It's been done. But this time, I'd say myself that I would not be interested in doing this change. Does any of my board have?
I'm not been moving forward with changing the apartments.
Can I ask the reason for that?
Want to ask neighbors?
Yes, sure, yeah, sure, yeah.
It's not,
You have an apartment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I can talk to the neighbors.
We went through. I don't see it's true. Actually, it's commercial. We don't want it. So that's fine. Does anybody want to add to that?
There's 30 retail on the bottom floor of the apartments.
Building A,
Yes.
what it was approved for, 600 square feet. I don't know what it's going to be. It's not rented yet. But yes, there is 600 square foot, 1 tenant space.
So when you came for the prior board that was here in 2000. This was to be a mixed use property. We've got waivers based on commercial nature. Of mixed use. That would not have been granted for residential. So. There's a very brief history given by Ms. Gowan. There's a lot more to it. And it based on the history of this and what has occurred. What we were told was to be at this point to change it. Not interested.
So we'll go back, we'll continue to look at it. And if there is, any additional information, if there's anything else that we can put together to bring to the board, we're obviously happy to do it. We'll continue to talk to your staff about finishing out the development. And would, appreciate following up with you at any time.
I will give the public, if there's anybody who'd like to make a comment, please try and keep it short. Please come to the lectern, state your name and address.
There is a sign.
I'm signing.
I just threw it together 5 minutes ago. My name is Trish Harrington, and some of you might know me. I'm the committee chair for California Borough Bird Count. And I've helped create green space in the borough in 3 different locations, and we maintain them. I came here because I heard about the additional retail space and apartments that are going in. I'm against any further building of apartments on Butler Avenue, period. After the builders leveled the woods, it was weeks before I had the heart to drive by. Seriously, I would cry. I think I'm not alone in this sentiment. After all those mature trees were destroyed, it was heartbreaking. I had emailed concerns to the township and I was assured that there would be green space, which I see now on the map, it's behind the apartments. And most of the landscaping would be native plants. To date, I see some trees and a row of non-native boxwood shrubs. Excuse me. Where's the green space besides that little bit that's stripped in the back? These apartments to me are heinous. They are dark, they're ominous. They reflect how I feel about the destruction of the mature hardwood forest, where warblers stop to rest in migration and box turtles dug down in the soil to spend their winter. You know what, we have to do better as a community to protect our green spaces and do more for land conservation. We have to be better at land stewardship. Incentives can be offered to help landowners, such as tax credits. We have to give incentives to give a landowner an incentive to keep their land undeveloped for generations. It's more of an intangible benefit to not only the landowner, but to future generations that are going to live here in Chalfont. And that's all I have to say about that. I'm very emotional about the whole thing. Sorry.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
comment. Thank you. Please come forward and state your name
My name's
and
Craig.
sign in if you could.
Pardon?
There's sign in on the,
I got a sign?
Just makes it easier for our record keeping. Thank you.
I've been here before, complaining about the water problem existing from this property. I look forward to the completion of the project. Unfortunately, I'm suffering more water problems. They have not gone away. I look forward to this project being completed with storm sewers and curbing. The access road and the path and the retention pond has created more problems for me. We will find out this week on what we. I wish Mr. Riley the best, and I hope you allow him to do more apartments to complete the project. But I want this township to get together, fix the problem that's there now. The walkway is causing me issues. That's all I have to say.
Is there anyone else who'd like to come forward?
I am Coach Strom. I'm sorry I spoke out of turn. I live on 25 Cedar Hill Road. I know these guys are stuck with the whole commercial part. Commercial's not selling anywhere. You can see down in Doylestown where they have their apartment complex and everything's empty. I grew up in the city. Apartment complexes start off great, and then we move into Section 8 and things go downhill quickly. What I'd like to see these guys do, if they're gonna be stuck with the commercial aspect, skip it, put in a playground. Put in something else. Then try and jam in a commercial or whatever kind of half idea they're gonna come up with. So we're already stuck with the apartments, they're there. Let's just add some greenery like the residents would love. Throw something in for the kids, because we don't got a lot of that going on around here. That's all I gotta say. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. Anyone else?
It's a good segue for me. It's gonna be a little lengthy, but important to say. Mary Margaret Briggs, 245 Forest Park Drive. To the developer. I thought you did market research back in 2019 and 2020. Mr. Meister stated at the ZHB hearing in November 2020, where the townhome commercial mixed use was proposed, that county builders had, quote, previously built numerous mixed-use projects containing thousands of residential dwelling units and large amounts of commercial space, many of which are in Bucks County. He further stated the Butler location to be mixed use in nature, meaning it blended residential and commercial uses and buildings in a pedestrian and environmentally friendly manner in order to promote a community design. What changed? Why is your hardship suddenly the township's problem? Mr. Meister testified at the ZHB hearing for townhomes that a minimum lot size in the C1 district was 1 acre. While that may be true for townhomes, it's certainly not for B7 apartment or J31 mixed development uses, which now you have per the Court of Common Pleas Court settlement. Both of these uses require 15 acres per zoning, township zoning. What a generous gift your company was granted with regard to the court settlement agreed to by the township in 2021. County builders also should consider itself fortunate to have been gifted an impervious allowance of 55.5% as per your last plan. Given that 80% of your development in its current state is residential in nature with a 35% impervious allowance for zoning, that is a generous gift. Yet now you seek to increase the residential portion to 90%. Are you willing to give back the township some of the generous impervious allowance you were given? I suggest county builders count its blessings and consider something else commercial in nature that is beneficial to the community. Perhaps a place where teens living in the community can hang out, such as an E7 community center. I've been hearing for decades how our teens don't have any place to hang out, play games, or otherwise socialize with their friends in the nearby community. Or perhaps make a nice park area for your apartment residents to enjoy and eliminate the commercial aspect. If the township would actually allow you to do that. With the large number of apartments you have already successfully built in the first building, I sincerely doubt the economic hardship to your company will be great. After all, you were able to build many residential units with an impervious allowance 20% greater than the standard residential zoning allows. To this board, as an EAC member, I want to point out how environmentally successful the township was when the Madison Apartments development was built. It incorporates green parking with grain gardens and environmentally sound landscaping and lighting practices. That is the sort of development we should strive for our community. The county village development doesn't even come close to the Madison Apartments with regard to being environmentally friendly, as Mr. Meister stated at the November 2020 CHB hearing. Could be built in an environmentally friendly nature. As a resident, I say to you, just say no. The community does not want this proposal. The community has been quite clear on that for the last 5 years. And please do not ever allow this sort of mixed use shell game to ever proceed in our township again if the minimum B7 or J31 lot requirements are not met. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else? Would you like to say?
May I, just because for two reasons, in deference to the prior board and in deference to the facts that were before the prior board at the time, I do think it's important just to clarify a few things for everyone's benefit. This is the C1 zoning district, so not a residential zoning district. We acknowledge that. That was the basis for the discussions. That was the basis for the discussions at the beginning relating to the prior plan as well as this plan. Impervious in the C1 zoning district is 70%. The impervious that was permitted by the zoning hearing board was greater than the impervious that was ultimately agreed to by the township and the applicant in the settlement stipulation. So I just want factually to be clear about what the board did and what the board didn't do. This board and the prior board did not allow greater impervious or even close to it than what would otherwise be permitted under the underlying zones. So that should be set. When we talk about another thing, when we talk about market, right? We talk about market, what's selling, what we've developed, what we haven't. We all understand market conditions. Gentlemen came up before and talked about some of the vacant commercial that we have in Doylestown, that we have in all of the surrounding areas. We all know what's going on with the Montgomery Mall right now. We know what this township is looking at in terms of the corridor. We've been involved in those conversations. We've had the conversations with the township. We understand. Nobody wants a vacant building. Nobody wants a vacant pad. Nobody wants a half-built development. That's the reason we're here. We're not here to add impervious. We're not here, to do anything other than be consistent with what we had discussed with the township previously and try to fulfill the development and make it better. So that's our basis. We understand everything that these, individuals have said. They care about the township. I think that's very important. I do think it's worth some consideration. So again, as we said, we're happy to continue to work with staff. We're, finishing out the development, happy to continue to provide you with information to do, the best that they can on the Butler Ave. Okay.
Thank you
Appreciate
for your
it.
time.
Thank you. Give them a minute.
Okay, moving on to presentation number C, 4645 County Line Road, Holton Contracting. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, everyone. Todd Savarese on behalf of Bolton Contracting Inc. Here with me this evening is Mr. Holt, representing the equitable owner of the property of 4645 County Line Road. His architect, licensed architect, Matt Eliason, and his engineer completes surveying Stanley Locke. This for the benefit of those board members who weren't board members in 2019. We're here this evening asking the board to consider amended final plan approval to a project located, as I said, at 4645 County Line Road. This project was approved by a resolution of the board back on July 15th, 2019, as a K5 contractor office use, which is exactly what Mr. Holton wishes to utilize the property for today as well. The difference is between the approved plan, or the plan approved back in 2019, and the plan that's amended, that's before the board this evening for your consideration, is the previously approved plan proposed a 6,000 square foot storage building with office space. And then in a separate phase, a 4,500 storage facility on the same property. I should note that the property is 2.88 acres gross. Mr. Holton's plan and vision is to utilize this property for a total of 16 individual contractor office type units. And I was commenting to Walt in the parking lot before we went. The closest I get to a contractor storage unit is when I help my brother-in-law out. We go to those facilities with the big orange doors and you open them up and, it's just racks of construction material. Well, that's basically what this is, but with the nuance that there be an office space available for the tradespeople to operate from these individual units. The individual units range in size, or don't really range. There's 15 individual units that are proposed at 762 square feet. And there's one unit that's 518 square feet. And the reason that 16th unit is a little smaller is because that's where there's communal bathroom facilities. So there's no proposal for retail operations or anything like that. It's a place for electricians or roofers or contractors, whatever the trade may be, to utilize these individual units, perhaps even, network off other in that process. And in that regard, it's a little bit of a nuanced proposal, I believe, from the prior proposal, which is known as the gutter guys proposal. But nonetheless, I think it's a vision that is appropriate for this location and that will be successful. So I should complete my introduction by saying, so the difference net between the prior approved plan as far as building size is the prior approved plan, as I indicated, was 10,500 square feet total. Once both phases were built out, what Mr. Holton is proposing is a 12,800 square foot building, one level with the units that I just mentioned. All of the zoning ordinance area, the dimensional bulk requirements as far as impervious building coverage, way below it on this particular site. So I have Gilmore and Associates July 25th, 2024 review letter. And to the extent that the board's pleasure is to review that, this presentation in the context of that review letter can represent that everything's a will comply. Mr. Holton is ready to go. He recognizes this is already been an approved plan and he's hopeful for the board to act favorably upon the permutation of the amended plan before it this evening. If anybody has any questions of me, I'm happy to answer. As I said, the architects, the liaisons here, as well as Stanley Locke, who's in.
Greg,
I'll start. Couple questions, or actually first comment, they're coming in for amended final. It is very similar to Gutter Guys. We had a productive staff meeting. They described their, what they like to do. So the staff did direct, I think we all agreed that they could go through with the amended final. I'm not sure you have too many of these I've had in the past, but there's not many changes to the road improvements, to the parking configuration, storm sewer system. So they have to stay within the concept of what the Gutters Guys plans were. Plus all the conditions that you see in our letter, we itemized it. They've already mentioned they agreed to those conditions, and we had discussed that previously. So there's no real big discussion on what type of improvements, where the entrance should be. Do you have your PennDOT permit already? I'm not sure if that's. It's gonna have to be updated. Okay, so they have to update their PennDOT permit, but PennDOT's already reviewed it. So that's the path that the staff has recommended. Your first decision is to agree with that, and I think they're hoping that you would agree. Staff thinks you should go in that direction, but there's some issues that they need to work out. Sounds like tonight, I'm hearing it's all will comply. The engineer's review letter said there were no issues, and they would also comply. So from that standpoint, that's where we're at. They did not go back to planning commission. There's no planning issues. Typically with an amended final, they just come to the board and we discuss it at this level. I had just a couple of questions. Will there be any outside storage? I'm getting a lot of questions from staff and board members. Any type of outside storage whatsoever?
No, sir, there won't be. So these individual units will give, the local contractors in the town, the option and, basically to get any kind of equipment that's at their house that they can't, quite venture out to buy a shop or an office, and these objects will be kept inside their actual storage unit, so it'll be concealed.
So you wouldn't have any problem with that being a condition that all storage, any materials would be indoors. And I know you described that staff level.
And Mr. Kennedy, I'll leave that to Mr. Holt, but I know that we talked about a permissible accessory use that's not before the board. There's a accessory, is it outside storage? It's just something. So
That wasn't part of their.
that's not part of their approval, but I don't want to foreclose Mr. Holt in the future coming back and asking this board.
And that, I know all that, and that's why I am asking, because I want that on the table now as far as discussion, because that's the questions I'm getting. On my end of, is there anything outside, or do you plan on storing anything outside? I know your other property that you described, when that, you have these pods, you have some outside storage. Those guys did not have any proposed anything outside, so that's the questions that I'm getting.
And I appreciate that, and I want to give you a straight answer. I just don't want to cut Mr. Holton out at the heels and walk out of here and say, I accepted the condition that's specifically permitted in your zoning.
And we don't need to, because this is only presentation night, there's no action items tonight, so that's what I'm trying to get.
We were under the impression that the board would consider a resolution.
I think coming from me, you're under presentation, you would be the other action. Just like the prior act that you're under, they present. In fact, I think the letter's not ready for their approval. Typically, you need to have a written letter to get to the final. So.
Okay, so
so we can discuss that all, we don't need to finalize, but that's one issue that's come up. The pods that you have at your other, would you be considering that then? Is that part of the outside storage?
No, so we want everything consolidated inside the units. We want to keep it, clean.
That's what this board wants, they need to have
The issue is you open that door for one unit, then you open the door for 16, and that's something that we're content with having these units consolidated. It's easier to manage, it's easier to watch, and it gives you a clean environment.
Those were my couple of questions that I had that I want to get out there, turn it over to the board or anything.
I think we've all just agreed with the rights of the plan, but so go with it. So that it's next. When we worked on this one, whenever.
We're not talking about having any big trucks. Out there. Trucks.
No,
Not.
no, and this isn't confined to, you know, your conventional construction workforce. For instance, I used to have somebody that they opened a party store and they, just because I was in the industry, they said, hey, well, you know, anywhere where I could get like a rental unit. So like, this is something where it's, like I said, it's not just confined to construction. If it's a party store, if it's, you know, a guy that's trying to open a, whatever the industry may be. So it's not confined.
But it would not be.
You're not gonna have triaxles and heavy rigs, no.
Yeah, the engineering design is not for tractor trailers, it's for box trucks up to 40 feet.
It's. So,
Mhm. No, I mean, we want to be, I mean, I was born and raised in this community, and that's what we're looking to do is, you know, I want to be a friend of the community. I came up, I started my business here that's now successful, and one of the lead issues I had was transitioning, you know, from 1 to 2 trucks, living at, you know, at my residence, running my company, to actually establishing a company and not, you know, keeping my work at my house. You know, and it's hard to make that transition because not every contractor or guy that's trying to start a business can afford, you know, a shop, can afford an office. And what happens is you get skid steers in the backyard, you get neighbors unhappy because there's trucks and equipment. This gives, you know, it gives the availability to someone in that position to, you know, have a different route, somewhere where they can offer that level of professionalism, but also consolidate their company, you know, to a confined space.
so
Well, there could be. I mean, if someone was willing to pay, obviously a contractor storage would be more expensive. I mean, essentially, they're renting this unit. If they wanted to just have a, you know, just keep it for their own personal items, that would be up to them.
Or within the store.
Yes, absolutely.
That doesn't break the case.
Clear.
I'm the only contractor that can, you know, but got time of the business. That's, it's the person, she can't.
Well, I mean, if they're in the,
Zoning officer already made that clear.
well, if they're in the phase of trying to plan a company or plan a business and they're not quite at that step, I mean, I guess I'd have to talk to Todd, but that's what I was referring to. If they have boxes and they're moving out of their house, then that's not a location for them.
We made that clear.
Yeah, that would be, it's understood.
We have a music for that.
It's a paid by contractor office, no persons. I mean, a ladder, you know, you get into a little bit, but great. You know
We
what I
have,
mean?
but it's not like we don't, this is very common, it's community organized. I totally agree with what you said. That's a good thing that township gets by, small business that grow, start to property, and so we get a lot of. That's where you draw the line, so it's not like we have. That area, it gets abused, and I just don't want you down that path, I think that's part of your marketing.
No.
Are there any other questions or concerns from the board?
Just like I'd like to see it much cleaner. Better, I think sending that message, that this is just too much, we don't. Really have staff follow up to make sure everything will comply, so if the plan comes in clean, it's. Much easier to give,
Understood.
Any questions from the public? There is any concerns from the public? Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 5, motion to consider the consent agenda. Consent agenda A, approved minutes of July 2024 board of supervisors meeting. B, approved regular business as follows, dated July 11th, for the amount of $356,732.45. Dated July 31st, 2024, the amount of $86,139.29. Item C, approved prepaid bills list of invoices. Dated July 11th, 2024, in the amount of $155,038.70. Dated July 18th, 2024, in the amount of $1,825.22. dated July 25th, 2024, in the amount of $18,706.15. Dated July 31st, 2024, in the amount of $26,782.11. Action R, consent agenda D, approve escrow release 3 for 84 Schoolhouse Road, Walmart Homes, in the amount of $3,751. And E, approve contractor's application payment 1 for Brittany Farms Stream Bank Stabilization Project in the amount of $76,400. Do I have a motion? Bill, do I have a second? So, Mary Beth, are there any questions or concerns from the board? Any clarification from the staff? No? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Agenda item 6, action items. Item A. Do I have a motion to accept and approve the unfair labor practice resolution secondary employment policy? Stephanie, do I have a second? Bridget, sorry. Dan, would you like to add any color or chief?
Yes, Madam Chair, as previously discussed, this is a settlement agreement for a policy that the PBA contested. We worked out the issues with that policy, and their attorney has already accepted it on their behalf.
All those in favor? Action item B. Consider a motion to accept. Is the amendment. Do I have a motion? Bill? do I have a second? Mary Beth? Scott?
Yes, this is a lease amendment for the tower that's out there right behind us. We also put on there. We started out as a singular wireless tower with AT&T. They have a management company now. It is a long-term lease, 50 years, but the township's getting a $20,000 signing bonus. And we get a percentage rental in addition to on top of our normal rental of all the new customers they bring in. So the same terms, we're just extending the lease and getting the signing bonus for infrastructure we use, the entire town uses. So it's ready for approval if the board would seek.
Any questions or concerns from the board? No, I see none. Any from the residents? No. The motion is on the table. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Action item C. Consider a motion to accept resolution 2024-12 approving Dan Fox as primary agent for FEMA grant. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion for the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Association.
Oh, sorry.
Mary Beth makes the motion. Bill seconds. Any question? Dan, would you like to?
Sure, this is just a housekeeping item. Back when the township applied for the grant in 2021, there was a different township manager. In order to close out the grant, we need to change the name on the grant application to myself.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Thank you for explaining the all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Action item D, consider a motion to accept resolution 2024-13, approving the National Audubon Society Lights Out program. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mary Beth, do I have a second? A second. Bridget? Dan?
The EAC has made a recommendation, as before you, that the resolution will establish a lights out period from August 15th to November 15th, from the hours of 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. and April 1st to May 31st. It's strictly voluntary. It's to assist with the bird migration patterns that occur in the Northeast corridor. Obviously, here, our lighting issue is not as great as the city, but every little bit helps. So we're just asking people to turn their lights off at night to help the birds find their way.
Does the EAC plan to do outreach to the public or any education to support this resolution?
I think I can answer that. I think we are counting on the township to post it both on their website and on the Facebook page. And I just want to reiterate, it is absolutely voluntary, because it's not any compulsory action. We're just trying to educate the public as to the effect of our lights on migrating birds and the time period that they migrate north and south. We can help the chain, we help ourselves.
There was I read in their recommendation that if you couldn't put the lights out completely anyway, they changing it to red or orange lights would help as well. I agree.
Yeah, we'll put that in the information part.
So I have a motion on the table. Is there any questions from the public? I have a question. Sorry. Yeah, I just thought of that. Stephanie?
I appreciate what Mary said, that this is a voluntary thing. I just want to make sure we see concerns. Chief, is there any concern from law enforcement side with darker communities?
Lights deter criminal activity. I'll leave it at that. Basically, I understand the concept. But, you know, well lit, you know, we have lights in parking lots and stuff like that for a reason. I guess if those businesses are closed at that time, they, you know, are getting them to somehow control their lights. I don't, you know, there is ability with new lighting systems to put timers on them and things like that. But, you know, we encourage people to have at least motion censored spotlights and things like that in their houses for protection and to deter criminal activity.
Oh, awesome.
Lisa?
I can also clarify, there are other ways to keep lighting safe. Shielded lights, lights that shine down rather than up into the air, which is what confuses the birds. And as you said, the color of the lighting makes a difference too. Motion activators. I think Dan was giving you the Cliff Notes version, but there's a lot more detail that we can provide for the website and also at the fall festival as well.
Thank you. Okay. Any other from the public? No? Mhm. I call the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye.
I said, yeah.
Okay, sure. Motion passes. Action item E, consider a motion to approve the amended easement agreement for 565 North New Galena Road. Do I have a motion? I'll make that note. Mary Beth, do I have a second? No second. Bridget? Scott?
Yeah, if you recall, a few meetings ago, property owners, Mr. and Evans were here in front of you, discussing their property. Unfortunately, the existing conservation basically looks like stuff was not worth conserving, so they can actually utilize that portion of the property while giving the township back the same square footage added on in their front where they do have mature trees and vegetation that we actually do would provide better conservation purposes.
Are there any questions from the board? No? Any questions from the public? No? All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Action item F. Consider a motion to approve the co-applicant agreement with CT Rankin for 4359 County Line Road. Do I have a motion? Make that motion. Bridget, do I have a second?
Second.
Bill?
Me again. Yeah, so, the owners of the property, CD Rankin, they're doing some work in the right of way, the stormwater management facilities, conducts their development, PennDOT requires this. Essentially, it's the same sort of idea as your normal stormwater O&M agreements, but with it being in the PennDOT right of way, PennDOT has additional requirements. It's still gonna be privately owned, privately maintained stormwater management facilities, but just that the township, should the property owner not do what they need to do, will take either A, enforcement action, or B, be the responsible party, just like we are with other stormwater management facilities that are privately owned.
I would like to add to that. I don't think you've seen too many of these. Other municipalities get a lot of them. In fact, there might be only one or two others. PennDOT has a requirement that even though it's their road, and I know I'm confused for residents, board members, but that we're responsible and we have to be the co-permittee of every application for stormwater out in the PennDOT right away, even though it's a private land development. These agreements, other sides have been going for years, it puts it back on the owner, the property owner, just like any normal agreement would have, or it's a township road. So PennDOT passes it to us, we pass it right back, and they're 100% responsible. It's confusing, but it's the way the state operates. And you haven't had too many of those, I just want to make you aware. See.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? I call the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. On to agenda item 7, information items, departmental reports, finance, Kristen.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So in the pack that you received was the department report, AKA the statement of revenue and expenditures. As of July, we're still in line with budget with the revenue, and the two largest revenue items being the real estate taxes and earned income tax. We're going to continue to monitor through the end of the year to make sure that we have budgeted accurately and to be able to budget in the future. As far as expenditures, we are also within budget, but there are some major capital improvements that haven't occurred yet. We hope those will happen and finish in Q3. Lastly, we will begin the budget process. And we have a timeline, and we've agreed to what's going to happen at each point in the timeline. I did say lastly, but I have one more comment that in recent news, we understand that the Federal Reserve did not make any changes to the interest rates, but they do still anticipate that that will happen in the future. And we have locked in CDs to a tune of 5.4 million to ensure that we have an interest rate around 5%. Do you all have any questions? It's 6 months or a year. There weren't shorter time periods. And we didn't want to go too long. Thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair, board members, my report has been submitted for June. The one thing I'd like to bring to everybody's attention is that National Night Out was to occur tomorrow. However, it's been canceled due to impending storms. No, Doylestown Township coordinates it, and they're not gonna try to reschedule it.
Thank you.
Thank you, board members. Yeah, busy month in planning and stuff for me. A lot of permits issued, a lot of inspections conducted, completed in my report that I submitted. Land development stuff currently ongoing. We have a bunch of little projects, I would say, going on that are active in the review period. That's really it from a land development standpoint. Also, we've been implementing a new permitting program over the last month or so, Tracer, which is replacing Unilogic. first couple weeks, couple hiccups here and there, but our staff is great getting the permits out, with the little hiccups here and there. But I can say the major issues are now behind us. So of course, there's little stuff that are really ongoing, but, I think over the last several days, we've ironed out the big things, so the permitting program, it's gonna be great, I can tell you that, once everything is implemented. We can even get finance involved eventually, with it, so, there's a lot more that Tracer can do that people like. Kind of looking forward to that. And also lastly, but certainly not least, our open space plan update, is currently ongoing as well. I think we finally finalized over several meetings, with the ETC Institute, which is, conducting a survey that we're gonna send to our residents, of the township to see what they want out of the township's, open space. We have over 300 acres, of open space in the municipality, so, that survey, I think, will be going out within the next several weeks or a month or so, something like that. And then once we get those, get the input from the residents, we'll be able to put together, a good outline on, what this update is gonna look like. But we want the input from the residents first before we take that next step. So.
I just want to comment on that, having been on that committee, we have had a lot of difficulty getting the survey written and completed. It was not written by ETC, it was written by the Bucks County Planning Commission. Because of problems in communication. But it's done now. And it will be sent out by ETC.
I think it's 5.
So you will keep sending it out, so 500 people reply.
Correct.
So if you. The next month.
Within the next month, yes. Yep. We'll have ongoing, yeah, that we can get according to EPC, we can get any updated any time from.
I think the thing that would be important is that once we know when they're gonna actually mail it, we can get something on our website.
Right.
Saying,
Yeah.
telling the residents. that
Yeah.
this is valid.
Legitimate, we need you to respond to it, because people throw out email that.
It's very important for the future township needs and desires.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if we could get actually a hard copy of that and put it on the website so that people. No, see it, or a picture, something, a real picture of the front, so that they'll know what it is.
Maybe the cover letter.
Yeah. Once we see that.
They don't
Yeah.
want, they don't want general participation, they want this to go out to target. How they
Like even on
manage it. They don't want general participation.
That's kind of been my comment throughout this entire. Want the rest, whatever we can do to make the residents.
If I could just add one thing, it's really, I'm sorry, Kathleen Davis, 32 Clearview. It's a short survey. It's really short. So when you post it on the website, this is coming out, here's what the envelope looks like. Just say it's really short. It will only take you a couple of minutes. So the people, less just anything to cut down the likelihood of putting it in.
Thank you.
I believe better.
Okay, one last question about the review that was being done by the environmental person on our ordinances. Is that coming to a closure?
The Pennsylvania Environmental Commission. Council. EEC. Has told us that they are nearing completion of their review of our ordinances. And will have something out to us, I believe, by September now. They said a month or two, and that's in July. So that is nearing completion also.
Was that the end of your report, Dave?
Yes, unless you want me to pour on about it.
No.
Okay.
Just didn't want to cut you off. Okay. Engineers report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When Janine said that I had to add the MS4 stormwater permit update to the agenda, I thought quite a bit until she told me it's required by DEP. So I didn't know if we'd have residents all coming about a big stormwater update. This is actually your MS4 state permit update. I'm just required to make an announcement that we are updating it. We did receive the draft permit, and that's really the public outreach. However, I get a lot of questions on the MS4. So what we did was we provided your annual report in there. Janine did a nice memo with our response. We had a very productive staff meeting. Dan and Dave they're familiar with the MS4 and that we have to do. So we kind of game plan on who's the point person, which we all picked Janine to be the point person. And eventually I think she'll work with the EAC on projects that we start adding, and as they get their feet wet, there's things that they can do to help us with the MS4. So the larger projects, there's also smaller projects that you've done one in the past. So you have our memo. I won't go through all that. I would just like to highlight for the public that DEP's comments, does a report show that the permittee has made a serious effort to educate the public about the impacts of stormwater, and that's repeated several times. They checked off yes every time for the township. So Janine was very proud of that. And I think it is. I do harp on that we haven't done enough projects, but it doesn't mean that you're not making serious efforts to educate the public and follow all the rules and regulations. So I commend you on that. I did, just not bore you, but I did put a copy of the actual permit in your packet. If anybody has any questions, answer them offline. DEP actually drafts your permit. So in your packet, you have a June 24th letter stating that DEP has prepared the enclosed draft NPDS permit for your review and comment. We have already done that for you. We met with staff and we have the comments. Janine has will be making one phone call on some technical issues. If the township receives any public comment, we're supposed to add that, but typically if you do not, it's just usually from our office or staff. But DEP prepares the permit, not us. I just want to make that clear. We have no objections. It's usually based on your annual report, of all your projects and what you're working on. And right now you have about 6 items, and we went through and we have no issues with those. So that is the MS4 update. I don't know if anybody has any questions. What?
To do it in the 5, there's stormwater. How about storm bag restoration?
I'm going to get them the engineers report.
I do have one question. While you're thinking, they're publishing notice of their permit, and there's a 30-day public comment. Have we ever commented?
No, we haven't. So then the next item listed is our subdivision and land development amendment updates. You have our August 1st memo. This is the 4th memo and the last memo. Now the little tough start. Tough work starts with putting all this together. Scott will have to prepare a zoning ordinance and a Saldo ordinance that we'll need to walk through with everybody. So this one's a little more technical. Some of it has to do with landscaping. We tried to pull that out before EAC comment on that. I didn't get into a lot of lighting because I knew that was an ongoing thing. So we'll probably have to, change some things with the lighting, and I have no problem doing that. Again, some of these are not even our comments. They're from prior zoning officers, such, again, trying to match up impervious coverage definition and zoning and Saldo. I pulled a lot of traffic and a lot of design criteria out of zoning, which I already mentioned to you, and put it in subdivision and development. That gives this board a little more control over waivers and not making things go to the zoning hearing board, and then we don't have that control. And really, I feel that should be in the design technical part of the project. So a lot of definition corrections. Janine went through the stormwater ordinances and make sure they all match. So I gotta admit, she did a lot, it was a lot, it was a lot to take, I think the list went back to when Devin was the zoning officer and. Joanne and Kelsey and just a lot of stuff that was put together. And then zoning style are kind of working together, so. As we mentioned at the end, the next step would be to have, Dan, Scott, myself, Dave. Figure out how we're gonna walk this through, it's gonna be two new ordinances that have to be, sent to Bucks County Planning Commission, local planning commission, any other entities, I assume the EACs, have that now. And then eventually get those comments, and then you'll get the comments too as well. I'm assuming these 2 meetings. You have to have a hearing on it.
The hearing.
Hearing be the thing, right, so.
But we're talking October at the earliest,
I was-
this time.
I was thinking I would have it done by the end of the year. So, all right, so, as far as them, anybody else have any comments?
These have been, I mean, some of these came out last year.
Yes, we started in December of last year with the trees, the landscaping, and we did parking.
Planning commission,
No.
then
No,
investigate
we
these?
have to pull it all together. See it as a whole.
Well, I think it'd be far easier to take one at a time, well, not the ultimate enactment, but the EAC has been dealing with it one at a time and commenting on them. It's a lot of work then, okay?
One bite of the apple. The Big apple, but
It is, it is.
Okay.
And then, thank you. And then you have our July engineers report. I was gonna highlight one update is the Brittany Farm Stream Bank restoration. The staff's been, I think Ryan and Janine been handling most of it. Dan and I've been getting on a little bit as needed with some questions and answers. But one thing that's come up is the contractor really feels that is requesting that we delay the plantings, the live stakes. So what I'll probably have for you is the next meeting is a change order to delay the contract and push it back so he does not have to complete it. I'm not sure he was fully aware of the guarantees that were in the specs that he bid on. He was a low bidder. There is a guarantee in there of 1 year, no matter what. So we're fine with it. I think the staff's fine with it, but I'll have that for you. Jean's been communicating with Ryan and the contractor, and I would have no problem with delaying that until the fall. So, but you should I'd recommend you take official action to extend that contract at your next meeting. That's my other update. Yeah, it's gotten bad.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the public? I just like to comment. Nothing new. So as EAC, just wanted to say we're very happy to go along and help us however we can with any of these MS4 projects. Moving back to that. And also with regard to education of the public, maybe we need to think hard about how we can document the education that we do. So for example, at the Fall Festival, a lot of what we will be displaying will be stormwater educational tools, like a sand table that teaches even kids how water runs and what happens when this happens up here and what happens downstream. We'll have a little enviroscape with the same sort of, here's if something flows out of your driveway, where does that oil that you're changing and spills end up? And we'll have handouts on rain gardens and basic stormwater, homeowner stormwater information. So let us help you. Tell us what we can do to help you document that for your MS4 permit. I know that, documentation is key. Oh, and with regard to the Saldo, 1 bite at a time, but one thing I think I'm starting to learn is that so much of it is interconnected. Yeah, so I know that the PDC recommendations are going to sort of cross over various lines, so I'm just saying, I know it's gonna be tricky. We'll help there too. It's a big puzzle. It really was, and a lot's been happening lately to complicate it.
There's a lot of trust too, because I know a lot of it's very technical. And like you just said, is we remove something here, and then if we don't put it somewhere else, and all of a sudden Dave doesn't have the hammer, and I need that in Saldo, so or definition doesn't match, then we're exposed, you know, in any type of litigation. So it is, it's but it's time we put it all together, and it's just gonna have to be looked, sent through one, go through a lot, with the emails. I know Dean has, so, we'll walk through it. Staff, we may need to attend several meetings, just to help, you know, try to answer any things.
PPC has been doing this for a lot of townships for a while, and they might be able to help a little bit.
Mary Beth mentioned, I would like to get their comments as soon as we can and
No
look,
pressure.
yes.
Yeah.
And then Dave and I could look at how that impacts and make changes before we send it out.
Thank you.
Board of Supervisors comments. Bridget.
It's been hot.
Neighbors. Yeah, make sure people have fans and stuff like that going and pets. Be mindful, be safe, have fun, enjoy your August. Meredith?
I don't have a lot to say, so I will just pass. Hope everyone has a good August.
Bill?
I also passed, but just wish everybody a good rest of the summer.
I don't know how it's August already. Yep, it is. Back to school soon.
Yes, yes, that is it, last month of summer, so everyone please be safe. Please watch out, since we have our next meeting not until September, please watch out for the school buses as they start up before Labor Day, I think.
No,
After?
Central Park starts after. Other schools.
And Fall Fest, since we only have one meeting in September, Fall Fest, September 21st. Please join us for this wonderful full family day with jumping castles, petting zoos.
Bubbles.
Bubbles, yes, pumpkin painting, baskets, I think, are we having baskets? There to say.
Probably.
The auto show.
You should be talking about the liaison with veterans.
I am, and then I blanked out about. Sorry,
Yeah.
just moved over the kids, I apologize. But yes, we have been hard at work with the Veterans Committee on getting ready for that, getting everything lined up, and we are very excited to have our shop fest and everyone come out. With the weather. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. We do not have a rain date, so if it is not on the 21st, we do not. Any public comment from the thing?
Just a quick question, or
Yeah,
quick comment,
please.
about the,
Please stand up and come to the.
I'll even that. Walnut Island Nature Preserve is having their 50th anniversary that day, and they're having a big celebration, so I just wanted to let you know, I didn't realize it was on the same day.
Thank you. Please come forward. If you could sign in just so we can keep. Record. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Catherine Memo. I live at 201 Topmore Road, and I have a question for the board, and our residents in Silver Smythe are wondering why the mowing has stopped in the open space between our two entrances of our horseshoe development.
I can.
And we have some of our neighbors here that, you know, were very curious.
I don't know, but we'll get back to you tomorrow.
I think at the time we had, we're looking into trying to naturalize some areas. If you would like to reach out and send an email to Dan Fox or give him your email so that we can have a conversation.
So I have
Get back
reached
to you.
out and to different offices in the building here, and we've been told multiple different reasons why it has stopped. So I was hoping for a more clear or the correct answer.
I haven't heard from you.
Yes, yeah.
I believe if you did send me something and I missed it, I apologize. But if you could just get in touch with me tomorrow or give me your information tonight and we'll certainly get you a clear answer tomorrow.
So. We would like to. Soon in that space. We've had an increase in wild animals in our neighborhood in the past 2 years since it has stopped. When we had no issues prior. We are concerned for our homes, our pets, and our children even more as we approach the winter months as well. We have had the groundhogs taken over the neighborhood, which we know is normal. You're gonna get groundhogs here and there, but almost every shed in that neighborhood has a family of groundhogs that's eaten at their sheds. We've also had an increase in mice. It's summertime. I'm speaking with the neighbors. One neighbor said, you know, I have an influx. It's 100 degrees. I could see this winter, but my husband just killed 5 inside their home. They think that's bad. We've had a neighbor who said they had rats, 2 rats that they've had to get rid of. We've also had snakes, garden snakes, but now they're not this big. They're about this big, and they're being found in our pools. Imagine the kids when they jump in. We've had more increase in foxes. Again, we know we're gonna see foxes. It's fine. We are also more concerned too with the tick infestation there with our pets, as there's a lot of dogs that get walked and houses back up to that field. The appearance of it is not very pretty either, as we are tax-paying residents and we take pride in our homes and our lawns, and it doesn't look pretty when you drive by. I have a petition here with multiple signatures in our neighborhood that we would like that mowing resumed to get rid of the mess, the infestation. We had a coyote in one of our backyards drinking the pool water when the kids, you know, the kids were out there too, so it's just becoming more costly to us too, because we are now, especially in these times, we're putting out money for repairs to our sheds and our homes, as well as pest control to take care of the problems. And a lot of our residents in that neighborhood are seniors and are on fixed incomes. So I really hope that you would take into consideration, as well as some of our neighbors here too.
Well, thank you for bringing it to us. I will say that we're always open to listening to the residents. So, allow Dan, who's the new township manager, he's been here just for a couple of months, to do a coordinated, deep dive into talking to our public works person, looking into the history, and then we will be getting back to you.
Okay, I appreciate that. Would you like a copy of the petition?
Sure.
Yes.
I'll take that.
I just wanted to say that, I live on the other side. I live on East Fair. I have always had fox. I've always had coyote. I don't have a shed, but everyone that does has had a groundhog problem. They're not gonna be in the fields. The mice, the rats could be coming from there. The groundhogs are,
How about the snakes?
snakes are always here. Always here.
Yeah, we haven't, I mean, I know in our neighborhood, we have not seen them.
Well, you
until
haven't
2
seen
years
them,
ago.
but they're there. The other problem is we haven't had much rain in almost 2 months. Very dry.
Good point, because you know that I forgot to mention with the fireworks, God forbid one lands in that field, it's going up.
Well, fireworks are not supposed to be set off.
I understand, but we all know in this room that they do. We see the Chalcon page every night on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
So, you know they're going off, and that's what's scary too. If one goes off, that whole open space is going. And those homes behind, that's another, thank you for bringing that up, because I forgot to mention that.
You
And
may
then-
be seeing more wildlife because of the drought. And hopefully maybe that belongs.
I'll agree to disagree, but the other thing too is, has any of the zoning been changed there? It's still residential, correct? For that open space?
That is open space only.
So, your own rules. That open space, natural vegetation should be maintained, not left to become weed infested. Undesirable plants such as honeysuckle or poison ivy, dead trees, dead brush should all be removed. There's not a dead tree. I'm reading what's on the site.
Oh,
Dead
no,
brush, dead
we're-
weeds. Oh, okay.
She was telling me.
I drive by, as I said, I live right there. I drive by, there has been a dead tree there for years that I would like to see gone.
But what's not being mowed, it's all dead brush,
It's grass,
which is dead brush.
But yes.
So I'm just wondering, how does that? I mean, if it was us on our property, we would probably get a copy or get a letter from the board or the township that you want it cleaned up.
We will always try something different, naturalizing open spaces, save us on our mowing fuel. So we are open to discussion.
Save it on the mowing fuel. If you're already doing the outskirt, how much are you saving? I'm just asking, I'm challenging you. I just want to know, how much are you saving?
Yes,
I think this would be better.
yes.
We
So
should
this is
set
what
up
I'm
the
saying.
meeting.
We've had the
and have
discussion.
it up.
You've brought us your concerns. Let us do our work and our background and get back to you. That's all
Okay,
we can say.
that's all I can ask. Dan, I'll give you a copy of this with my contact information.
That'd be great. Thank you.
The biggest thing too is discarding, it's to maintain our property from the damage from what's being. Because when it was being mowed, we didn't have these issues, I will tell you. And I think our neighbors can agree.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to add?
Planet floor, and I lived in Westline. Up at about 200 pop. And just speaking, we rescued two large great parents. And one of the largest of the two, she'll be 8 this year. And she's had to have one hip replaced and the other one an FHO, and that's where they basically lop off the head of the femur and flatten out the hip joint. Because of that, she's in a wheelchair. So you can imagine a big giant wheelchair with our dog. Her name is Gemma, and she still loves to go for walks with her wheelchair. Sometimes when it gets too much for her and she can only go a certain distance, I would cut across that field and just go between my neighbors who are catty corner to us. I can't do that now because when I've tried, the grass is long and it gets caught in her spokes and she gets really hit with, I have to pick the ticks off her. So I know disabilities for pets are not a big deal to a lot of people, but she's very near and dear to me.
And she's been treated for Lyme's disease already.
Yeah. So, if that could be, please, part of the consideration, because sometimes when she goes down, if I don't have anybody home, I have to sit there for over an hour with her.
She's 140 pounds. Just to give you an idea how big.
Yes, she's a big girl. And so, I would have somebody come with our van, pick her up, but if I can get her home, if I'm by myself, I would, like I said, and I can tell, you can tell by the behavior of your dog when they're in pain. And, she loves to go for those walks, I can tell. And when I would cut across, that's what I would do to shorten it, because it's a diagonal and it's a lot faster to get her home. And then the likelihood of her to go down and me to sit out there or with her for a long time would be really, really decreased. So if you could find me a part, it would help her out a lot. I don't know how many more years we have with her. And I just want to keep her happy. So if you could just think about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Just a quick addendum, but I appreciate what you're saying, and I think maybe a cut through, maybe a road space. I don't know how big the meadow is, I'm not familiar, but, I am familiar with meadow, management. And it is beneficial to have a meadow in the community. High grass, a lot of people don't like the high grass. They say it attracts mice, rodents, rats, whatever. But it does do good things to the environment. It mitigates flooding. It absorbs storm runoff, and the roots of grasses go 4 or 5 feet long. So all that is, absorbing the runoff, and it also locks carbon from the air. So in our, climate of summers that are so hot, it's something that we should consider preserving. And as far as the mice go, and rodents, we are in, how rodents have like a curve in their population, we are at the very top right now. And that's why you're seeing so many rodents. And I'm hearing it from so many people. It's not just you, not just you guys. Snakes too. Snakes, there's so many snakes. But I think a lot of it is not just because you've got an unknown lawn. Like you said, they're looking for cool places to hide out in this heat. And so that's why I wanted to say about that.
We have that behind. And we have the retention basin, and that gets nice and hot. And I'm glad that we have that, because exactly what you said.
Maybe I
right.
could
It's
mow a little bit in the
Yeah, I
middle
appreciate your input.
and leave some of it behind. Well, that's why we have icons too. Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, if she wants to pay for pest control at our houses, I mean, I'm up for that. I know my budget.
Do you have get into discussion, you can discuss this outside after the meeting, but we have people that need to go home tonight, and we're not gonna discuss it tonight.
Thank you very much.
I live next to an area that has not been noticed. The rodent population has not changed for us. And in fact, there are lots more bugs, more eggs. And we had a raptor today take one of the mice out of our backyard. So we have differing experiences. I honestly, we have on right across the street, there's an area that's not been mowed very much. Nothing's changed.
Have you had rats?
I have not had rats. But
We have
have
rats.
Okay, Margaret,
Thank
we're
you.
not having a discussion now, we're not having a debate. Thank you.
And thank you for yours.
And if you don't hear from within the next week, please come back and talk.
Thank you.
All right. Any more public comments? No? Okay, announcements. We have the zoning hearing board for August 15th has been cancelled. The Park and Rec meeting for the 20th has been cancelled. The Veterans Committee meeting in prep for Fall Fest is still meeting on Wednesday, the 21st. The EAC on Thursday, 22nd has been cancelled. The Planning Commission for the 27th has been
Correct.
not cancelled as yet, it's still on at 7 PM. The township offices will be closed on September 2nd in respect for Labor Day. And then the EAC will be meeting on Wednesday, September 4th. Fall Fest is on September 21st, and our next meeting will be on September 9th at 7 PM. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make that motion.
But isn't probably closing offices early one day.
We will be closing offices early on the Friday to 30th, on the 30th of September.
Yeah.
I heard the mumblings for the first. I had a motion to adjourn. Stephanie, do I have a second? Second. Mary Beth, all those in favor? All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Happy August.